Welcome to a new class. Today we are going to discuss transfer of heat. So how transfer of heat take place in solid, liquid and gases as well as without any medium. Heat is a form of energy. Heat is a form of energy. What is the nature of this energy? So heat is a form of energy in transfer from a hot object, hot system to a cold system. So heat is a form of energy in transfer from a hot system to a cold system. Let us do an activity to understand more about this transfer of heat in the solid. It's a candidated candle is there. Here there is heat energy. So how the heat energy flows, this transfer through a solid object. That is what we are going to do it. You can do this experiment. See, I have dropped this wax drops here. You can see wax drops. I have dropped this wax here. So when you are heating the one end of this, and you can heat one end of this metallic rod. So when you are heating the one end of this, and you can heat one end of the metallic rod, then what happens? When this metal rod get heated up, this you can see the wax getting melted and it start flowing. You know that metals are good conductors of heat. Because of that, what happened, this metal get heated up, and from the, yes, you can see it start, it's you have seen it, the wax get melted and it dropped into the ground. And if you continue heating this one end of this, you can see one by one this the wax drop get melts and it falls down, and you can see the order by which the wax drops getting melted. First, this end, the wax drop that you have placed in the end of object get melted first, then the second one, then the third one. Yes, this also start melting. The second one also start melting. In that way, you can see all these wax drop get melted. See, the second drop also get melted and it has fallen down. You can see the third drop also getting melted and going down. The third drop. You can see the third drop. And next, you can see the last one also get melted. In solid, the heat transfer take place by means of conduction. So in solid, conduction take place. What is conduction? When you are heating one end of this steel object, what happens? That end get heated up, and that heat get transferred to the other end. Heat get transferred to the other end by the process of conduction. Conduction takes place from the hotter end of an object to the colder end of the same object. The process of conduction takes place in two manners. One is from the hotter end of an object to the colder end of the same object. How far this process takes place? So the flow of heat continues till both the end acquire same temperature. Is the process of conduction take place in another manner also. What is that? Suppose there is a hot object here. There is a hot object. Suppose there is another object that is cold. If you bring these two objects together, means the cold object, if you keep in contact with this hot object, they keep these two objects in contact, what happens? From this hot object, the heat flows to the cold object. Contact is necessary for conduction. So conduction takes place from a hot object to a cold object in contact. Understood? How far this process takes place? When both these objects acquire same temperature, this process of conduction continues. See children, I have taken hot water in a glass and I kept these three different objects in it. One is an object made up of plastic, other one is an object that is pencil made up of wood, and third one is a steel spoon. And if you keep like this, after some times what you can see, if you touch this other end of this object, you can see that this object, that is steel spoon, the other end of this, the handle of the steel spoon get heated up. In the case of the steel spoon, the heat from the lower end, it will get transferred to the handle part, so this part become heated up. But in the case of plastic object, the heat is not flowing from this end to this end, because plastic materials do not allow heat to pass through them easily. And wood is also not a material which allows the heat to pass through them easily. So materials are classified into two groups. One, the material like steel or any other metals. So the heat transfer take place quickly. Such materials are called conductors. So materials are of two types called conductors and other one are called bad conductors. Conductors and bad conductors. Bad conductors are otherwise called insulators. Okay, so here plastic is a bad conductor, and wooden object, that is also a bad conductor. Paper, thermocol, etc. Such materials are bad conductors. But materials like iron, steel or aluminium, etc., they are good conductors of heat. So now we can discuss transfer of heat in fluids. Fluids means liquids and gases are together called fluids. So all liquids are fluids, all gases are fluids. So let us discuss the method of heat transfer in fluids. So how heat transfer take place in fluids means how heat transfer take place in gases and liquids. So to demonstrate heat transfer in fluids, I have taken a round bottom flask, and this round bottom flask is filled with water. So up to this brim of this, I have taken water here, and to see, water is transparent. So the heat transfer we cannot see easily because it is transparent. So to see this method of heat transfer, well, we can do one activity. All liquids are fluids. So let us discuss transfer of heat. How transfer of heat take place in liquids. So that that the liquids and gases are fluids. So let us first discuss transfer of heat in liquids. How transfer of heat take place in liquids. For that, water is very transparent, so I could not see this transfer of heat through water very easily. To see transfer of heat very easily, we can do one thing. Here I have taken few crystals of potassium permanganate. Take one big crystal of potassium permanganate. You know that potassium permanganate is soluble in water. So just put one drop of one big crystal of potassium permanganate in water. See, I put this potassium permanganate crystal in water. Then you can boil it. You can start heating this water at the bottom. If you heat at the bottom, what happens? You know that this potassium permanganate is present at the bottom and it is readily soluble in water. So what happens? You can see this potassium permanganate getting dissolved in water. You can see the movement of potassium permanganate in the round bottom flask. Have you seen it? You can see, yes, it has raised up. this crystal, you can see potassium permanganate getting dissolved in water uniformly, and you can see the movement. When you are heating water at the bottom, the water at the bottom get heated up and that water become hotter. So we can say water fluid. This hotter fluid rises up and then it transfer heat to the colder surroundings. When you are heating water, it become later. Hot water is later than cold water. So when you are heating water, this the hot water that is later in weight that rises up. You know, later substance, the substance which are having less weight float. Okay, so here the hot water rises up and the cold water which is present in the top goes down. So this process continues. You can see the movement very clearly. This potassium permanganate crystal getting dissolved in water. You can heat it. Okay, and you can heat this inside the round bottom flask. There is you have taken water. The round bottom flask we have taken water and a few crystals of potassium permanganate. What is this? Potassium permanganate. And now you are heating it. Then what happened? The heat get transferred to this bottom only. First this water get heated up. So water present here get heated up. So here the heat get transferred. It is absorbed by the water molecules at the bottom. So here the water molecules become hotter. Here what is present is water fluids. Water fluids means hot. Here the fluid, hot water. What happened to it? It is later in weight. You know, hot water is later. Is later in weight. Later means having less weight. So it rises up. This hot water rises up. You can see it is getting raised. And here there is cold water. The cold water is heavier than hot water. So what happened? This cold water goes down. You can see cold water going down and hot water getting raised up. So this process of heat transfer in fluid is known as convection. What is convection? The process of hotter fluid moving and transferring heat to the colder surrounding is called convection. What is convection? The process of hotter fluids moving and transferring heat. Convection means the process of hotter fluids moving and transferring heat to the colder surrounding is called convection. So in the case of fluids, this process of convection takes place. The water fluids moves and transfer heat to the colder surrounding.